Chavez and Maduro have been giving our oil to Cuba, China, Iran for decades to finance their killing, disappearing, and exiling of us. The United States would be doing us a favor to recover the oil industry in Venezuela, and here's where our interests align. First of all, U.S. companies have never left Venezuela. Chevron remains a big financier of the Chavista regime. That's a lot of misinformation that U.S. sanctions are to blame for the crisis in Venezuela. Chevron has never left Venezuela. Again, these are people that don't understand the history of our country. We became the country that we were, the richest in the region.
Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching India Today Global. The world is still facing and experiencing the aftershocks of what happened on the intervening night of 3rd and 4th of January in Venezuela. The aftershocks of a political earthquake caused by the US military action in Caracas. To discuss this issue, I am being joined by a special guest from New York, Germania Rodriguez-Poleo, who's a Venezuelan-American journalist based in New York. And welcome to India Today, Germania.
Thank you for having me.
My first question to you. How are you feeling as a Venezuelan-American about what happened in Caracas? And President Nicolas Maduro is in New York, the same city where you are right now.
He's not a president, he's a dictator. So we Venezuelans are elated that our dictator, who has been oppressing us for over a decade, killing, jailing, disappearing us, has been arrested and brought to the United States as an American. That makes me so proud. We Venezuelans have seen a glimpse of justice for the first time in 26 years. But the job is not done. The Chavista regime stands, and we hope that the Trump administration follows through and helps bring democracy and capitalism back to Venezuela.
Germania, you shared your story that how you had to flee Venezuela as a child because of the regime. What has been your personal story and how that personal story has influenced what you are feeling right now about the US operation that led to Maduro's capture?
Yeah, my personal story is that of over 8 million Venezuelans. The Chavista regime sparked the largest refugee crisis in the history of the Western Hemisphere. That's why we Venezuelans are so loud about saying what happened to us. While the world is just starting to hear about Venezuela, we have been under tyranny for 26 years. I myself had to flee my country 20 years ago when I was 11 years old because my mom, who's a journalist and was reporting on what Chavez was trying to do to our country, was accused of terrorism. She had to go into hiding for a month, and then she had to flee Venezuela in a boat through Curacao. This was under the dictatorship of Hugo Chavez. This is when the world was still saying that Chavez was good.
So, Amalia, you completely support President Donald Trump's tough approach, and you're calling it a right call?
Listen, as an American, I am very critical of President Trump. This is not about Trump, and I wish this is what the world would understand. This is about Venezuelans. Our cause has been ignored for 26 years. We have asked the international community for help throughout it all. We have been ignored. We have protested. We have marched. We have gone on strike. We have done everything we can where our kidnappers control all the violence in Venezuela. And to free ourselves from our dictatorship, we need help. And we are very, very glad that the Trump administration has taken an interest in our cause. Now we are cautiously optimistic, and we hope that Trump gets the rest of the criminals out. The job is not done yet.
I was coming on this question only, Armenia, that Delcy Rodriguez is the acting vice president or the acting president of Venezuela now, stepping in the interim president. A lot of people are worried, given her close proximity to Maduro. She was working as a close aide of Nicolas Maduro. What's your biggest concern about her and her taking over? And how does Trump's idea of temporarily overseeing Venezuela's transition sit with you?
Listen, we Venezuelans are have to take what we can get. Delcy Rodriguez is another dictator, is Venezuela's dictator today, and she needs to go too. However, like I mentioned, the Venezuelan opposition does not have any support in the military. It's not that they don't have support, it's that it's a dictatorship. So all the opposition leadership has is the public support, but the regime controls the institutions, the military. So sadly, it for us, we Venezuelans don't have any leverage against the regime. But we are happy that now the regime is going to have to negotiate, not with us, the citizens who are unarmed, but with the US government. And now there's a real threat of force. So we hope, and we are seeing good signs, that Delcy Rodriguez is going to have to do as she's told. And Marco Rubio has told us that what they want is an eventual transition. And that's what we hope for.
But don't you feel anguish because what has happened in Venezuela? This is actually hurting the pride of Venezuelans, their nationality, their sovereignty has been.
That's misinformation. Venezuela was invaded by Cuba 26 years ago. Talk about sovereignty. Venezuelans lost sovereignty long ago. Our country has been given away to Russia, China, Iran. Do you want to see evidence of this? The majority of the guards who died defending Maduro were Cuban. My country is invaded by Cuba, and we want the US to help us get it back.
But do you think that the US would be able to liberate Venezuela, or will not turn into another occupation?
It's not going to listen. The United States was Venezuela's biggest ally when we were the richest country in our region. We want to work with the United States the way we did it when we were the richest country in the region. Exchanging the US as our main ally for Russia, China, and Iran completely destroyed our country and sparked the largest refugee crisis this side of the world has ever seen. We want to do business with the US the way we used to do it when we were a rich country.
But this is not business, Germania. This is basically, transaction on gunpoint, because President Donald Trump has said that they have already imposed a naval blockade around Venezuela, and they will decide, and he has already made it clear that this is for the oil of Venezuela, and he wants the maximum share of the oil.
Thank God, we have something to offer the United States in exchange of their help. Chavez and Maduro have been giving our oil to Cuba, China, Iran for decades to finance their killing, disappearing, and exiling of us. The United States would be doing us a favor to recover the oil industry in Venezuela. And here's where our interests align. Donald Trump is not going to be able to recover the oil industry in Venezuela with a dictatorship there. He is going to have to bring capitalism and democracy back to Venezuela in order to work with our oil industry. And that aligns with what Venezuelans want.
But can you walk me through why you believe that President Donald Trump's strategy, including reopening Venezuela to US oil companies, is really the best shot at getting the economy back on its feet?
First of all, US companies have never left Venezuela. Chevron remains a big financier of the Chavista regime. That's a lot of misinformation, that US sanctions are to blame for the crisis in Venezuela. Chevron has never left Venezuela. Again, these are people that don't understand the history of our country. We became the country that we were, the richest in the region, the fourth richest country in the world in 1950. We did that with the help of the US developing our oil industry. Your audience and the world might not know much about Venezuela. We have way more to offer than just oil. We are not just a barrel of oil, and we are glad. And if you have been listening to the United States, it's not taking over. They are going to work with Venezuelans. In fact, the proceeds of the oil that they're now going to take, are going to be used for this transition. And Maduro, Chavez have not used the proceeds of oil for Venezuelans for decades. They use it to kill us. That's what's going on today. We Venezuelans want to work with the US.
Now we are looking at a Venezuela without Maduro. But the way we are watching things, Trump managed this crisis and strengthened, your confidence in him to help build a stable future for your home country. Are you confident that President Donald Trump would be able to deliver those promises, whatever he has made? Because, given the record of the United States as far as, the regime change operation.
Let's talk about the record. Let's talk about why I'm optimistic. Have you heard of Panama? because that's a good record. 30 years ago, the United States government went into Panama, a country that's much more similar to Venezuela and the other examples people like talking about, like Iraq. And today, Panama is a great country that has welcomed over 100,000 of my people who needed help. So to say that the US has never helped the world, has never helped in a case like this, is completely dishonest. And there are cases of success in similar cultures. We Venezuelans love democracy. We voted for it last year. You don't have to build our country. We need help getting our dictatorship out, period.
What are your thoughts about Maria Corina? Will she be able to take a bigger position if after the transition or after this interim arrangement?
Listen, we Venezuelans would hope for our elected government that we elected last year when Maduro stole an election to be the one leading this transition. However, in modern transitions to democracy, we know that that's not realistic because this is a totalitarian regime that has control of everything. Maria Corina Machado has been a great leader for us. She has shown the world the brutality of the regime. She not only won an election, but proved to the world that Maduro stole that election, and she has played that role. In an eventual situation after a US-led transition happens, of course, not only Maria Corina, but every one of the nearly 9 million of us would be able to return home.
Well, Maria, we still see Delcy Rodriguez. I heard your thoughts about Delcy, but Diosdado Cabello is still the Interior Affairs Minister of Venezuela. Given the set of people are already there in position of power, they are controlling things in Venezuela. For a common Venezuelan, how things have changed?
That's the most complex part about this, because the media has been dishonest in saying that Venezuelans in Venezuela are not celebrating. Again, Venezuela is under a brutal dictatorship where if you go out and say anything against the regime, you're disappeared. So Venezuelans inside Venezuela, who I've spoken to, have the same opinion that I do. They are cautiously optimistic. However, they are more repressed than they have ever been by Diosdado Cabello. However, if you look at the reporting and at the words from the White House, Diosdado Cabello is next. And that's what we Venezuelans are hoping for, both inside and out of the country.
Given a chance, do you see an opportunity or a window for you to return to Venezuela and have some role there to rebuild your home country?
1,000%. And that's what people have to understand. We don't need the United States to build our country. We had a country. We had a democracy. And there are millions of us outside our country who are ready to step up and rebuild our society.
Thank you very much for Armania for this interaction and sharing your thoughts. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.